just in case we have not met, I just want to introduce myself, who I am, who I'm not. First of all, I am not anybody official with Bright Line Eating, but I'm very enthusiastic about the program. And why am I doing these Zoom chats? Comes to my story, a little story. In 2019, in May, my friend Lori posted on Facebook saying that she lost 57 pounds, and if anybody was interested on how she did it, to just private message her and she would tell her story. And I quickly ran to my private messenger and asked her, and here she went over the 4 bright lines. If you're new to Bright Line Eating, it's no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, so no snacking, and weighed and measured portions. And to all that, I thought, no way. There's absolutely no way I could do that. But, I really like you, Lori. Let's go out for lunch and chat. And that's where the seed was planted, is having that conversation with somebody who was actually doing the program. Now, Lori had never read the book, but she suggested that I get the book, and she also suggested that I join a Facebook group called We Eat Bright with Lines. And I have come to find many Facebook groups, including the official page now. But I started out on We Eat Bright with Lines. And long story short, I practiced 3 weeks and then was all in. Well, one of the people who I met on that journey, well, let me back up for a second. So I went through and I thought, if I last 1 year, I will have the courage that Lori did, and I will post on my private Facebook page, and I will help anybody I can. And just before that year was up, I had this feeling from God. I'm a Christian, and I felt like I was being called to, like, Noreen, you could do more than that. You can do Zooms. You've met people on Zoom, and you could introduce some of them to some of these wonderful people I've met in the Facebook group. Well, one of those people is Toni Visconti. Toni has been there from the beginning, from when I began, before I began. In fact, I think she may have responded to my first post. Seriously, she's been there for me for 17 months that I'm on this. I'm down now 65 pounds. It's kind of funny. These Zooms are almost like a chronological journey for me. I have 135 to go. I have 135 to lose. But one thing I'm just going to share, because this is going on the record, I fit into a size 14 pants today from a size 26. What?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That is
I had
awesome.
bought them on sale, put them in the closet, and I'm thinking, these 16s are getting a little loose. I'm going to just try this. And by golly, I'm not saying they're not totally a little tight in the pants seat, but hey, I got them on. But anyway, I digress. So Toni has been there in this We Bright with Lines. I'm not sure how many groups you're in, Toni, but I got to say that right from the beginning, you were such an inspiration to me. And I'm so excited that you could come on tonight. Toni came in October, and I was just beginning to record some of the Zooms, and Toni has graciously said okay to record this. So you are going to enjoy it, and you'll be able to watch it again later. So thanks for that, Toni. But I told a little of my story. If you could take us back before Bright Line Eating, just a tad, because, we have seen you, or I've seen you at the Slim Toni for a long time now. So what happened to the before Toni?
Can you post the one of the pictures, one of the slides, like the one that really has me like enormous? That one.
Is it okay? Let me see this.
My highest weight, ladies, I'm 5'1", was 211 pounds. Now, for some of you, that doesn't sound like an enormous amount, but there I am, all in my glory with a really horrible haircut in Rome, ready to sink a gondola if I got on it. And that's how I felt. I felt absolutely hideous when I saw that picture in the blue right there. I have struggled. I'm 63. I'll be 64 in April. I have struggled with my weight since I was about 27. and up and down 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 55 pounds, I think was my highest. But at 5'1" and a petite frame, 55 pounds could be 100 pounds on a larger person. I struggled. I did Weight Watch. I did every diet known to man, including some I'm not even going to mention because they were so horrible. It was, I can't even believe I was that desperate. But Weight Watchers 4 times. I did lose 50 pounds on Weight Watchers, and like every other diet, it started to creep back on after about 6 to 7 months. And that was 2007 when I did that, 2008. And that white shirt is 2017. In between, I had lost and gained 25 pounds about every year. So the yo-yo effect was definitely a yo-yo. I mean, it was terrible. When I first started Bright Line Eating, I went back to track my weight because I had been recording that, and not every single year, but almost every single year for 11 years. And I gained and lost within 15 to 25 pounds every single solitary year, except for the years when I was another 50 pounds overweight. So when I hit 60, well, January of 2017, I thought, I'm going to go back on Weight Watchers. I know it works. I can do it. I've done it before. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and it just, my head was not in the game. Across my Facebook page in about May or June came a Bright Line Eating Facebook advert, and it was because, you know, those algorithms they have, one of my friends was doing it, although she never fessed up to it. But it came across because she had been doing it, and I took a look at it. I did the little test. I read what I would need to do, and I went, no way in effing hell am I ever gonna not have flour or sugar. Not happening. I'm Italian. I grew up with pasta. There's just no way I'm going to do that. So I just laughed that one off and went, yeah, right. And off I went. And I was still up to about 191 pounds. And then October 15th came along, and it came across my Facebook page again. And at this point, I was pretty desperate. And I said, I'm going to be 60 next year. So I was 59. And I said, I cannot. Well, actually, no, I was going to be 61. So I was 60 that year. If I can't do it at 60, I might as well just be heavy the rest of my life, because I haven't done it this far. It's been over 30 years. If I don't try my best this time, I don't know when I'm going to have another chance. So I was married at the time, and I told my husband, I read the book. I went, I'm going to do this. I can do it for 2 weeks. I can do anything for 2 weeks, right? Told my husband what I was going to do. He went, does that include pasta? And I went, yes, no pasta. He goes, yeah, good luck with that one. He was not a supporter. So for any of you who have a family member or a spouse that is not a supporter of Bright Line Eating, you can still do this. It was rough, I will tell you, without having support. But you know what? If you can be your own support, and this group. And groups like We Eat with Bright Lines, those are what saved me, and an accountability buddy. So on November 6th, I started my journey, and I have not looked back. I am now 32 months, 36 or 38 months into my journey. And I have been at my first goal since August of 2018.
That's amazing,
That
Toni.
was 45 pounds. And then I sat on that for about 6 months and decided I would like to lose another 5 pounds. And I did. And I have kept it off. I have had a couple pounds sneak back on. And what I do when that happens is I go right back to weight loss phase. And it works. A couple weeks on weight loss phase, and I'm back right where I want to be.
Well, you know what, Toni, I'm gonna just jump in here. And I remember when we talked in October, you said something that I thought was pretty profound. And this is going to the people who are, new, starting up, but you can be in a really bad state of resuming. Like, I gotta resume. And I remember you saying something like, you had hit rock bottom, but it's where you felt you had a solid ground to stand on. When you have hit rock bottom, I know for me, it was the pain in my feet, the pain in my knee, and for many people, it's those health issues too. But, it's kind of like the crazy hamster wheel, like you're just getting in and out of every diet. And, it's not a very self-appreciating type of thing to do.
No, it's not. And Weight Watchers tells you that, talks about that hamster wheel. You get on that hamster wheel as women, especially, and you feel like crap. You think you look like crap because we are harder on ourselves than anybody. And then that hamster wheel just gets going, and then you eat because you're like, well, it's the what the hell effect comes in, and it might not be just for an hour, it could be for a week. And then it just is all over again. And then you're like, well, why the heck should I even do this? So I took it as, and I thank you for reminding me of that statement. I hit rock bottom. I had hit rock bottom a couple of times, but I hit hard rock bottom in October and early part of November. So my first month and a half on Bright Line eating were during the holidays.
Wow.
And I did it. And I was at people's houses. And I will tell you, their kitchens never looked so clean because while everybody else was eating not my food, I was having a cup of coffee and scrubbing kitchens because I wasn't going to be around everybody eating. So at holidays, I'm a big hit. They're like, come on over. And then we'll put out the desserts and then she'll go clean.
Yeah. So no NMD either then. You went through the holidays.
No. So yeah, so I am a wine drinker. And I'll talk a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about this right off the bat, since Noreen just likes to throw me off track sometimes. I have it down, Noreen. You gotta just let me go with my script.
Sorry.
So I really believe that when you get on this weight loss program, you should stick, as Mercy Rice, if we know Mercy Rice, and I have met Mercy, stick to the fabulous plan. Now, if you ask me, it's not quite fabulous. It's just stick to the frickin' plan and just do it. Because if you make exceptions right off the bat, you're going to fail, I think, in my mind, because it creates this rabbit hole and you keep going back to that rabbit hole and you keep using it as an excuse. So I always say, stick to the plan. Now, SPT will tell you that you can have 5 meals a day if you have issues, or you could do 2 meals a day. You can do intermittent fasting. You can be vegan. You could be completely raw foods. You can be plant-based. I mean, you could be keto and do this. So they're really, well, not completely keto, but you could be sort of keto. You could do this plan and still do other things. But if you just stick to the core plan, especially in weight loss, I think that is your biggest road to success, because we in our brains can go, oh, well, I'll modify this and then I'll modify that. And before you know it, it's not even Bright Line eating anymore because we've just modified the hell out of it. So I really did stick to the plan, and I love my red wine, which is healthy for you, right? And I'm not an alcoholic. And so for those of you that don't know or maybe have not read the book, SPT was on the verge of being an alcoholic and a drug addict when she started this program. Before she started this program as a late teen, and she went on a 12-step program, and it took her several years to get addiction free, because she was addicted to some forms of drugs and alcohol before she started this. And that's how this whole thing started in her head, because it was a 12-step program. So I am not an alcoholic or anything else. I'm addicted to food. Hi, I'm a food addict. But alcohol isn't it. So, but I thought really long and hard. It's empty calories, right? So, and this is a low, no matter which way you cut it, this is a low calorie program in the very beginning, because her stance is, let's get the weight off and let's get it off fast and let's get you healthy habits. And then you can start adding food back. So I thought, I'm going to miss my red wine. I think I'm going to miss it more than sugar and flour. And I did. But I will tell you that I'd get off of it for it took me 9 months to lose the weight. I was off of alcohol for 8 of those months. And I'm not saying it wasn't easy or it wasn't hard. It was just like flour or sugar. Because I'm a social person. So as I was out and people were drinking, I wanted to drink, but I thought a little soda with some lime not soda, but like seltzer water with lime, and nobody knows whether you're having a gin and tonic, vodka tonic, or seltzer. So, and I really found out I didn't need to drink to have fun. And so I did that for 8 months, and I don't regret that a bit. Is my red wine back? Yeah, in moderation, because now I have a cheat date. After 8 months of not drinking, a couple, 2 or 3 glasses, I'm good with 1 glass, and a bottle will last me almost 5 days. So it's also good on my pocketbook. But I have brought that back. And I like to be honest about it, because people go, I'm never going to be able to have alcohol again. I'm like, yeah, you can. It just depends. Are you addicted to it? Do you think you need to have it every day? That's a problem. But if it's a social thing and it's in moderation, great. I cannot have chocolate in moderation. If you give me kisses, I will hunt and seek you and drag it out of your dead cold hands and eat the rest of the bag. So there are things I cannot eat in moderation. I am a 8 on the scale, but when certain foods like pizza or real pizza or chocolate are involved, I am a 12. So I think that in weight in the maintenance phase, you need to figure out what are not triggers. Some people are triggered by nuts and completely healthy things that we can eat, right? And I have to have nuts in small packages. I spend the extra money to make sure I get them in the 100 calorie packets, because I won't, it's a mental thing. I won't pull 2 packets, but I'll pull 1. But if I just have a jar where I can just pull nuts and put them into a cup, doesn't work for me. Peanut butter, just give me the jar and a spoon. So I had to go to powdered peanut butter, which we can use, and it doesn't have that rich taste of peanut butter, but it satisfies me, and I can put it in yogurts, and I can put it in muffins and all the things that we can make, and I can and I can mix it up and dip my apple in it. And because it doesn't have that really, really rich peanut taste, because the fat has been taken out of it, it doesn't trigger me. So I have found things that don't trigger me that I can still enjoy. And when people say to me, does that mean you're never going to have dessert again, ever? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I don't eat flour or sugar, but darn, I could make the best cheesecake that is totally compliant. Because it's cheesecake. So, but I didn't start doing any of those things until I hit maintenance.
Okay.
Because I wanted to give myself the very best 100% chance of succeeding, because I had failed on absolutely every program I was ever on before. And I failed because it was a diet, and it was a diet mentality. And the diet mentality is, I'm done now. I've lost the weight. Woohoo! I can go back to eating what I was eating before. And you cannot do that, especially if you're an addict. So the other thing I want to say, if you haven't read the book, read the book. I cannot even tell you how much I want you to read that book. It's an easy read if you haven't read it. I refer back to it. I like the Kindle version because it's always with me. And if I want to go to the resources, you just click a couple clicks and it actually gets you to the resource page where you can search for resources. And it is always, because my phone is attached to my body, so it's always with me. And I use it all of the time. In fact, all of our people, like on We with Bright Lines, they don't want to read the book, or they're too lazy to look at it. They shout out to the group, what is this, or what is that, or what it sound like, going like this immediately, so I can get
Well, and I know that, like, my friend, she didn't read the book, but she uses a chart and it works for her, and she's kept her weight off. But I think the piece that is also so important when you talk about referring back to, and I have it in hard copy and the Kindle, and they're both on sale actually right now, today, January 7th. But I can't believe it. It's like you're saying, using that research tool on there. Like when I'm looking for a certain thing, I can pick up a word that I remember you talking about the saboteur the last time, that you kind of had a different relationship with the saboteur. And
I don't have a relationship with a saboteur.
Right.
That's a relationship. Yeah, I don't believe in it. So, yeah.
Well, I think that you said something like, you don't name it because you don't want to give it power.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Is that kind of?
Yeah, that was one of the things. Let me go back to the book though.
Yeah.
So the book, the first 7 chapters, if you have not read it, are not about the eating program, because everybody wants to skip to chapter 8 where the eating program is. I did that. I'm like, oh, what can I have? It's the science behind it. And I think what is so critical with this program is it gives you the tools, aside from the one she gives you in the back of the book, and I'll talk about those in a little bit, but she gives you the tools of the reasons why all the other crap diets didn't work, right? And why the diet mentality didn't work, and the science behind what is so bad about sugar and so bad about flour. And there's a lot of science that has come out in the last 5 or 6 years on how bad, and you can just Google on YouTube and Netflix some of the documentaries that they've done on flour and sugar, especially sugar, and how the food industry puts it in everything. So no wonder we're addicts, because it is literally in everything. It's in cocktail sauce. Who
It's
knew?
in salt.
It's in salt. Well, yeah, and if you
Lowry's
don't,
anyway.
if you never read the back of the labels, how do you know what's in there? And I didn't for the longest time, right? So now, if I can't pronounce half the words that are in whatever it is, I'm not eating it. I don't. There's very few. I went to my cabinet the other day, and I'm like, wow, there's virtually, except for the bean pasta, no boxed anything unless it's the 2 crackers that I can have, which is Mary's Gone crackers and Triscuits. And there's nothing with horrible things in there, because now I'm buying organic because I just think it's healthier. But most of my stuff is fresh, and I'm cooking a lot more. I love to cook anyway, but I love to cook, and I cook really simple stuff that I could make in a very short period of time, or make batches of, and then just freeze or keep it in the refrigerator. So I think the book is really critical for the reason that it gives you some tools. It's always with you, so you never have to worry about, oh my God, I don't remember what that quantity was or something like that. But more importantly, it really gives you the science behind it all, which I think for me brought it all together and made me understand I am not a failure. I thought I was a failure. I'm not a failure. I don't have a lack of willpower. That's not my problem. And I beat myself up for so many years, because I'm like, I can do this in my life, and this in my life, and this in my life. Why can't I lose weight? Why can't I keep the weight off? And for me, it was a self-esteem issue. I just felt like crap because I couldn't do that. But I'm an addict. I'm an addict. And an addict is a mental disease. It is a disease. And so you cannot eat what you are addicted to, because your brain will still be addicted to it. And if you always eat it, and you're even eating it in little tiny bits, your brain will never fully heal from the addiction. And we're always going to be addicts. So I always bring it back to alcoholism or being a drug addict. When my brain says to me, you can have just a little bit of that, I'm like, no, I am an addict. If I was an alcoholic, I would never have another drink if I wanted to not be an alcoholic anymore, right? So it's just the same with food. We are foodaholics. We cannot have what we are addicted to, or we will always be addicted to it. And once my brain got around that, it was so much easier to stick on this program.
So you're really saying that you truly surrendered to the program. And how long did that take you then to feel some kind of, I don't know, relief or peace that you were going to be able to do this?
For me, it was really easy. I did the 2 weeks. I hardly lost any weight. And when I first got on the Wheat with Bright Lines, everyone who was much heavier than me, or their metabolism didn't think they were dead like mine does, because I don't exercise a whole lot, and really have never done that very much. I walk a lot, but that's about it. I have a very slow metabolism. I'm seeing they lost 10 pounds this week, and they lost 15 pounds over the 2 weeks. I lost 5. And I was really depressed. I was like, I cried when I got on the scale after that 2 weeks. And, but I felt better. And I'm like, you know what? 5 pounds, I'd rather be 5 pounds down than 5 pounds up, or the same. So that's okay. It didn't matter if it was 1 pound or 2 pounds, but it was 5, I'll take it. And I thought, I'm disappointed, but I'm going to stick with it for another 2 weeks. So I did it for another 2 weeks. Lost 3 pounds. Okay, that's 8 pounds down. Now it's 4 weeks in, and I've lost 8 pounds in a month. That's good.
Yeah.
So I did it for another 2 months and another 2 months. And before I knew it, I was on the program for 3 or 4 months and I was down 25 pounds. And then you could really start to see 25 pounds is when you start, for a lot of people that have maybe 50 pounds or less to lose, you start seeing that, even 60 pounds. The heavier you are, obviously, the harder it is to see those small changes, but they happen. And I just felt so much better. My stomach problems were all gone. My joint problems were virtually gone. I still have a little bit of arthritis, but my inflammation in my joints were virtually gone. My head was clearer. I just felt so much better that I thought, this is easy. And I will say it's easier for me than I think it is for a lot of people. I didn't go through detox. I had a headache about 3 weeks in for 2 days. That was it. I didn't go through the whole detox thing that a lot of people go to. I didn't have the fatigue. I think that I was just so mentally ready and at rock bottom when I started that I was going to do this no matter what. And I didn't think I could in the beginning. I did not think I could do it. And
I'm sorry to butt in, but you said that you did the 14-day challenge.
I did the 14.
Would you really recommend that to others too?
I didn't, and I've not done boot camp because I'm cheap and I just didn't want to pay the money. That's the bottom line. And I think it's more structured than I needed to be. Even though I'm an addict and I nothing ever really worked for me before, because this all clicked and it was so easy for me, I had the group and I got an accountability buddy. If you are struggling, get an accountability buddy. That woman saved my life. We worked together for a year. And then we kind of went our separate ways, but that was a lifeline for me. We talked on the phone through FaceTime once a week, and we checked in every single day, just once every day, and just with what we ate. And we encouraged each other. We slapped each other's on the hands when we weren't doing right. We buoyed each other when we were feeling down. And I can't even say enough about getting a buddy. But I will say it needs to be somebody that is dedicated as you, because if you're trying to drag somebody along, that's really not going to work. And a lot of times from what I hear from people that are in groups where there's a lot of people that are failing, they're like, well, she's failing and she's not, I don't mean failing, not sticking to the program as well as you should. So sorry I used the word fail, because we're not failures in any way, shape, or form.
No, we're unstoppable.
That's just a word that we kind of use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guilty of it. Wasn't on track as much as they should be. And they're like, well, that person can do it, so I can do it too. So then you get into that group think, and you don't want to do that. So what I suggest is that you get somebody that has been on the program for a while, that is really dedicated to the program. And then when you get in the ditch, they can drag you right back out. Yes. So, and if you are on in this group, that's a good group to be in. And from Noreen's group, if it's from We Eat Bright with Lines, there's over 12,000 people on that group. If you put a shout out for your time zone, probably helps. I've done people with time zones all over the place, including overseas. I've mentored 4 or 5 people over the course of the last 3 years.
I found my buddy who is here in the group, Tandalin, tonight. She and I really, though, connected after Gideon Games. We were in the same team. Gideon Games it's a competitive thing for using bright line eating, but it's the companionship and being able to meet with people. But during COVID, then Tandalin and I connected just on a daily basis to get us through that struggle. It was a godsend to me.
It is.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it totally is. So I can yammer on for hours on this, but if you would like to send me, because I've got it up, if you would like to send me a question, I won't say who it was, and you just send it to me, and you can click, if you want to do a question and you don't want everybody to see the question, you can just send it to me. So I will see it, but don't be shy, because if you have the question, somebody else may as well. This is not the group to be shy in, right? No, but please
while people are getting their questions together for you, I just want to also we talked about it very briefly, but you were being, I think, very, very strong in that there are really 2 parts. There's the weight loss and there's the maintenance. And I do see that in groups where people will say, I am so afraid of maintenance. Why aren't you afraid of maintenance? Because this sounds like a dance, and I've never been to maintenance of anything. So, you know, you're saying you're switching on to weight loss. Is that a scary thing or not for
Not for
you?
me. It wasn't for me. 8 months seemed like a really long time, or 9 months for me to lose the weight. But when I got to the other side of it, like anything, it seemed like it happened like that, right? So I was ready for maintenance. I love my grains. And so my body, because my metabolism does truly think I'm dead most days, I don't need a lot of calories. And our calories, we get this question a lot on the main page. You know, how many calories is Bright Light 80? And we always cry, we don't count calories, and we don't. But I have my Fitness Pal, and that's what I used to journal in, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I get to the tool section. And so I watched them, and I also watched the micronutrients, and I watched the vitamins that I was getting, and I realized that I wasn't getting enough iron, and I wasn't getting enough calcium, so I supplemented it. But my sweet spot was like 950 to 1200 calories, and once I get up over 1200 calories, my body goes, oh, I'm not done. I'm done. I'm not losing any more weight. So 1300 calories for me is right about what maintenance is. And when you're not eating all that crap food, and you're not eating all that processed food that has all the carbs and the sugar in it, you can eat a lot of food in those 12 or 1300 calories, because you're eating healthy, good food. And if you're smart with it, and you have like maybe some lower calorie things, for a couple meals, you can have, you know, like a full on beef or something at night. I have always done low calorie, and I still do low calorie yogurt. I do 97 or a 7% ground beef. I do a lot of chicken. I do a lot of unfatty fishes. I don't eat a lot of starchy vegetables and fruits. I do love my bananas. So that's just kind of the way I've always eaten, and that's what I've continued to eat. So you can regulate, you know, you don't have to eat low calorie foods, but if you combine the meals with low and high calorie, you can still meet what your body needs at a lower calorie level. And everybody is different. Some people could probably eat 15 to 1600 calories in maintenance, or maybe even more, depending on how active you are. I have a sedentary job. In this chair, I work from home. I'm in this chair 12 hours a day. Thank God my dog needs to go to the bathroom at least 3 or 4 times, so I get up to take him out. But I work from home full time. I moved from the East Coast. I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. Then from the East Coast, I was there 7.5 years, and now I've moved back to Oregon, where my family is. And I'm blessed to be here for my little grandkids. I've got 4 under the age of 7. But I'm in this chair a lot, and I am not, I might go hiking on the weekends, maybe 3 or 4 miles, but other than that, during the week, I really don't. My butt's in the chair. So
I have a comment here. It's not a question, but it's a comment from Linda. Toni, you have always inspired me, but you were also so pivotal to my experience when I headed into maintenance. I was so scared to make the decisions it required. You were so transparent about your own plan and how you made it suit your needs and desires. You gave me so much courage and excitement rather than fear. And I just want to thank you for that. And, you know, this is really true. I think, you know, we are really going, it may even be part of what stops me. Like it's not that I kind of have a fear of success in some ways, because it's like, what if I can't do it when I get all the way down there? And how often do you weigh yourself to be able to stay on track?
I've always weighed myself every day. I've done it for years, and that hasn't stopped. And I use it for data. I don't use it as a barometer of how well or not I am doing. I use it as a tool. I can look in a bottle of low sodium soy sauce and gain 3 pounds just by looking at it. I mean, I'm sodium intolerant, so I have to watch my sodium intake, and I do like things that have sodium in them sometimes, and soups and things, you know, that are canned has tons. And thank you, Linda, for that. Thank you so much for saying that. I was not scared to go into maintenance because I was excited about it. But you know what? I am not a rule follower, and you'll find that out when I talk about the tools. So when SPT says, you know, here's your 4 things, the first 4 things for women, it's about 4 or 5 things that you can add in, and add them in one at a time, wait a couple weeks, see how your body reacts. Well, I was going to go on vacation, and I was going to be going and staying with a girlfriend, and I knew she wanted to take me to a lot of restaurants, and I'm like, I'm just going to throw all those puppies in there all at once and just see what happens. And I did. So I started maintenance with all 4 things all at once, and I didn't gain any weight.
Wow.
Again, I only, so I don't, because my body doesn't need a ton of extra food, I went with an extra half of protein. I went with another, the other grain that I can have, or actually I think it's 2 grains. So it's lunch and dinner now. And I went with, well, I've always had fat. I am not a rule follower. So just, that's my mantra. I've always had fat since day 1 at breakfast. Butter, actual real butter, not margarine, butter. And
I think that
I cook with it, and it makes my body regulated better, and I've always had it. So I have 3 fats a day, always have had it. So I didn't have to add that back in. But it's really the protein, and it's, I struggle with my veggies. I do struggle getting that whole 20 ounces in, and I probably get in between 16 and 18, unless I can make gazpacho. And then, yes, I do blend it. I do a coarse blend. And it's all fresh because I grow it in the summer. I grow up all the stuff to make gazpacho. And so it's tomatoes, cucumbers. I use a little bit of basil and onions and garlic and some spices. And that's my gazpacho. And I can drink 30 ounces of that like that. So, but unless I can, unless it's in a soup or something like that, I have a hard time crunching all those veggies. So probably 16 to 18 ounces a day is really what I get in. And that's been since day 1.
And you're consistent with that.
But I'm consistent. Whatever I've done, I am consistent with it. So I've been consistent since day 1. Like the butter has been in there since day 1. I also, and this is also blasphemy, I don't like plain yogurt unless I'm using it as a sour cream substitute. So I have always eaten either Too Good yogurt. It's Dannon. So Too Good, which has 2 grams of sugar in it. Actually, that's a new one. It only came out about a year and a half ago. But Chobani has 5 grams. So my personal preference is it needs to have under 5 grams of sugar in it. Now, this is how I justify it, right? If you look at whole milk, any kind of dairy has sugar in it. It's natural sugar. Whole milk has 12 grams of sugar in it. 1 glass, 8-ounce glass of milk.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't eat enough dairy. So I do eat yogurt a lot. So my yogurt is not, it is always low cal, not that it needs to be, but it is under 5 grams. It doesn't even taste sweet. I tasted my granddaughter's. I just did a little lick the other day because she asked me to taste something, and I went, and I spit it out because it was like regular yogurt. And I looked at the back of it, it's like 22 grams of sugar. That's what's in a normal full fat yogurt, like 18 to 20 grams of yogurt.
Yes.
So under 5 grams of yogurt is my cutoff point, and I've just stuck to that. And I use usually vanilla yogurt or mango or coconut or something like that, and then I mix it in with other things. But I do eat that a lot. I do overnight oats is one of my favorite things to make. So back to maintenance. I think that if you need to have a game plan. I had a game plan. I'm just going to go right in, just going to dive. And I did, and it worked for me, but it's not going to work for everybody. I don't need the structure that some people need. So if you need the structure, don't fear it. It is just a little extra food, and it's not any different food. It's no different than what you've already been eating. It's just a little more of it. So if you are scared of it, then follow what she says to do. You don't need to be, a rebel rouser like I am.
I will say this though, Toni, because there's the 10-10 split that people do for vegetables. Mm-hmm. Well, and I did that for about a year, but then because my lunch is just so plentiful, I thought I'm just going to switch that to 8 and 12. And the thing was that I have continued to do that. It's a great combination for me because I do need a little bit more at dinner. But it was funny because for about 2 weeks, my brain's saying, you're not supposed to do that. And you know what? I had to just calm myself down. And I imagined that that's the way it's going to be going into maintenance, that, okay, we're now in game 2. This is now, the next session here is on, and we're going to do this now.
If you have mastered game 1, game 2 is a piece of cake. Because you have the automaticity, you've got the tools, you've got the structure down. It's just adding a little bit more food. It's not a ton more food at all. And if that doesn't work for you, then you just need to tweak it. And that's the part that you tweak. And I think that's what scares people. Ooh, now I have to tweak something. Well, I've kind of been tweaking it since day one. So for me, it's like no big deal. But I think that she gives you the guidelines, and use it. And don't be scared. I laugh sometimes, and I know that's probably mean, when someone says, "Oh, I'm so terrified of going into maintenance." So I'm like, "Oh, honey, come on." It's not like you're diving off into the deep end and you can't swim. So, I mean, you've just had months and months and months, if not a year or more, of all of these tools, and you've mastered this. Give yourself enough credit to say, "I've mastered this. I can master this." It's a cakewalk, and it truly is. It's not anything to be scared of. At least I really don't think it is, because you've mastered the hard part. Maintenance is not the hard part. And are you going to fluctuate in weight? Sure you are. But you know what? We fluctuate in weight during weight loss too, especially when we get down closer to our goal weight. I can be up and down 2 or 3 pounds in a day, depending on sodium, or how much sodium, any not alcohol, but any liquid I have drunk like later in the day that sticks in my body because I've had that sodium, because the sodium just goes, we're just going to hold on to all that liquid that you just had. Right. So I can, my body fluctuates a lot. It doesn't scare me, because I know that if it truly is weight, and I'll know what it is, because I'll know what I've eaten, I just go back.
And I think that maybe that if you're going into maintenance, if you haven't had if you haven't had an accountability buddy before, maybe that's a time to shout out with someone who's already been through maintenance and say, "Hey, can you walk me through this for 6 weeks?"
Yeah. My accountability buddy never got to maintenance. She kind of bailed about a year into the program. So I want to talk a little bit about traveling and tools. So traveling, do not fear traveling. Do not fear restaurants. I mean, everybody's like, some people are like pack horses. I'm packing an entire bag and I'm taking it on the airplane with me. And I'm like, okay, so what I take with me, for the day I'm on the plane, I will take my breakfast and my lunch. If it's a long flight, I will take my fruit. In 2019, I traveled a lot for work. Obviously not this year. 2019, I traveled 70 days. The year before that, in 2018, half of that I was not in maintenance. I traveled about 62 days. And I didn't travel much in 2017 in that time frame that I was that first couple of months. But 2018 was over 60 days. This was all in hotels, all over the world. I get sent to France a couple times a year because I work for a French company. So I'm dealing with French food, which you can do on BLE. And I've been to Canada multiple times. Hi, my Canadian friends. And because I have a lot of places there that I have to go, and then all over the United States. And I am in restaurants every single time. The only thing I pack just in case is I pack some nuts in little packages just in case I need something to augment a salad. I pack powdered peanut butter because it goes so well in oats. I bring oats, again, the prepackaged oats, and I will always be able to get a banana or fruit at whatever the hotel is. I'm picky about my hotels, and I luckily am able to stay in hotels that usually have a breakfast. And then I can pick and choose from that. Some of them are pretty crappy breakfasts, and there's not much you can have, which is why I have my backup with me. But really, that's all I bring. I'm not a pack horse. I don't bring.
So you don't pack a food scale. That's what somebody asked.
Well, so I do have a food scale. I did get the one that's about the size of my iPhone. I don't use it. I just don't.
And then somebody also asked.
I told you I'm a rebel. Because of Weight Watchers and how long I was there, I'm a walking food calculator, either in points or in calories. and I can pretty much look at anything and tell you what size it is. But if you can't, you ask the waiter, what size is that hamburger? I want a hamburger. What size is that hamburger? What size is that piece of steak? What size is that piece of fish? What size is that chicken? Now they will give you the weight. They'll go ask the chef. The chef will come back. They'll give you the weight raw. Just like the packages do on the, in case you don't know this, the packages where they tell you you can have 4 ounces of ground beef or 4 ounces of chicken, that is raw, because that's how they do it, because they don't know what it's going to be cooked, because they don't know how we're going to cook it, right? So there's always going to be a little bit of shrinkage, and I don't even allow for that. I just say, okay, that hamburger comes, boom, straight down the middle, because it's an 8-ounce hamburger, which is real popular with restaurants. And the other thing I do is a tool that I use is when I order my meal, I order the to-go box. I say, please bring the to-go box right along with the meal. I immediately split my meal. Usually I'm eating all the veggies and then some, because they never give you enough vegetables. But I will, if it's a grain or if it's protein, I will immediately split it, stick it aside, probably under my feet. And because if I'm sitting there and I'm talking, it's just easy to pick at your meal. And before you know it, the whole thing is just gone. So that's one of the things I do. But I always felt self-conscious about bringing a scale into a restaurant. So I just ask, and then I eat all my veggies, and I ask for no grain. I will tell you that 99% of restaurants will accommodate anything that you need, because they're so scared of food allergies that you have. And sometimes they say, do you have a food allergy? And I go, yes, I do. Because then they're really careful with that.
Yes. Well, the other thing too, and you can add your advice on this, but I definitely weigh everything at home. And that has personally helped me be able to eyeball in a restaurant. I have not really had too much of a problem with it.
No,
when I have a one-plate meal.
I weigh absolutely everything at home. Everything. I weigh it. And I do the 1-piece rule on apples, oranges, that kind of stuff. So the whole stuff. And somebody was saying today, I want my whole 6 ounces. And I'm like, okay, I just don't have time to do that. So, I mean, I weigh, but I don't weigh my eggs. I use 1 or 2 eggs, or I use egg and yogurt. I do weigh my yogurt, but I do weigh everything except on the pieces of fruit. I like to get all my 6 ounces of blueberries or cherries or stuff like that. But on the bigger pieces of fruit, I don't bother with it. I just kind of get the bigger pieces of fruit. I wanted to talk about the tools. The tools are absolutely stellar, right? And there's a whole lot of them. I'm just going to list them off really quick. There's the daily rituals that you do in the morning and the evening. I will tell you, my daily ritual is to get up out of bed, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, get my coffee, and sit my butt in my chair. And that is my morning routine. So I don't really have one.
And you have coffee with cream, right?
Yep. Never got rid of it.
Because I know I got that from you on We Eat Right with Lines, because I didn't want to give up my cream. And actually, come to find out in the book, she says you can have a cup of coffee, 1 cup of coffee with cream. I have more than one, but
I have 3 cups a day. But I actually am now using soy milk, so it's very little calories. It's unsweetened soy milk. I'm not a big milk drinker. I was a kid, but I'm not now. And so I was using half and half, and then decided I would just go to the soy milk, and I actually like it better. So I don't have that problem. But I was using I just went to soy milk about maybe a year ago. So through all of weight loss, I actually used half and half. I measured it though. I didn't count it. Okay. I'm a rebel. Didn't count it, but I measured it. So the tools are, again, inspirational reading. And I have a couple books for you that I would suggest. There's a food addict book. It's got a flower, a sunflower on the front. I can't remember the name of it. I'll tell Noreen and she can tell the group. But that's good. It's like a devotion. It's an inspirational reading. It's on food addiction, but it's a good one. It's a daily thing. I bought that. I used it. Atomic Habits is good. I happen to like Brene Brown and anything that she does. And she's got 2 books that really resonated with me. One is I Thought It Was Just Me. And it's about making the journey from what will people think to I am enough. And it's really geared towards women, because we never think we're enough, right? or sometimes we think we're too much. The next one is the gifts of imperfection. And it's let go of who you thought you were supposed to be and be who you are.
Wow. Yeah.
And I really do like those two books, and I refer back to them. She has some really good statements that she uses in them. Meditation, yeah, I don't do that either. But for those of you that meditate, more power to you. I've tried, it just doesn't work for me. Committing food, I committed to being bright. I tried committing food for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks.
But you do use your Fitness Pal, so you're at least being accountable.
I don't do it anymore, but I did for 2 years, and then I stopped doing it about a year ago. And when I go back to weight loss phase, I do use it. But I committed to being bright because my job was very fluid. I was traveling a whole lot. Sometimes the husband that I had, and I don't anymore, thankfully, said, let's go out to dinner tonight, after I'd had everything all weighed, measured, and planned in the refrigerator. So it was too stressful for me. So some of these things where I went, I have to do this, I have to do this, I was so stressed out. I'm like, I don't even want to start this program because I have to do all these things. These are tools. They are not bright lines. Use every tool, use no tool. That's my
yes. And the other thing is I was really feeling guilty for not journaling. And then someone pointed out, Noreen, that's not a bright line, but look what you're doing. You're posting in the group every day.
Yeah.
So and I'm like, you're right.
Yeah. So I committed to being bright. Everything in my refrigerator and everything in my pantry, much to my ex-husband's chagrin, because he loved candy. He had his own pantry down in the man cave, was bright. And that's how I stayed bright. So I knew everything I touched was a bright line eating friendly food. And that's how I dealt with that.
There's a thing here that Tanlin's saying, the book on food addiction. Book on food addiction, Food for Thought by Hazelden.
Yeah, okay. That's it. That's the book. That is the book. Thank you so much.
And I have someone who said, Jean says, if you don't like veggies, try the Thug Kitchen cookbook. But just realize that the language is kind of flavorful. So I don't know what that means.
So the other ones was a nightly checklist. Yeah, I didn't do that either. Emergency action plan was my buddy. That was it. So we and I'm in a group now that's a private group that there's 10 of us, and we've been together for 2 years now. And
oh wow, that's great.
We use 911. We use a texting. We call 911, and we will text. I feel like I'm going to eat off plan, and then we all swoop in. Somebody will swoop in, and we're all in different time zones. There's 3 of them on the East Coast, West Coast, and then there's Midwest, Texas, Connecticut, Maine, Colorado, Oregon, Wisconsin, Florida, and
I love that.
And Utah. And so somebody is always there to say, "Don't you dare!" So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. And then the buddies group, and I did use that. Oh, the gratitude journal. Don't do that either. But so I didn't use very many tools, did I? But I didn't need to. They were tools. And some people tried to shame me into using them, saying, that's a bright line. I'm like, no, there are 3 bright lines. There is 4. No flour, no sugar, weighed and measured, no snacking. That's it. That's all I had to do.
That's really true. And that was, again, when I posted that I feel bad, like a failure, because I'm not doing the journaling. I'm not committing my food, but I was being bright. And they're like, the bright lines are
my life is hectic enough without having to feel bad that I'm not doing all this stuff. And I have tried journaling. I cannot tell you, and here's one right here. It's right there at my desk. And last time I wrote it, and it was about 3 months ago. I have so many journals with 4 or 5 pages, and then you go years without writing in that journal again. And you feel the need to get a blank journal. I just don't. It's right up there with meditation. I just can't seem to do it on a consistent basis. And so
I just love it.
I wanted to be consistent.
I just love this because you're just really solidifying to me, and I believe to anybody listening right now, this is your journey.
It is your journey.
Some people love every single thing that you have to write and check off and all that. They love it. And some it's like, I can't remember to do it, but I'm being bright every day. I really love, like I could go for the accountability stuff. I love the group idea that you could just have an instant chat, that you have a few people who can respond.
Yep. Yeah, so we do Marco Polo. Our group is Marco Polo. So I can some days there's 40 Marco Polos and I can't even keep up with 10 people. Some days there's 5 in the summer when we're all busy. And um, we do the texting. Then we call it our 911 texting. And so we do that. And the Marco Polo helps us keep, because sometimes just somebody getting on there and saying, hey, I really feel like I'm going to go off plan today, or I'm feeling like, somebody just brought in donuts to the kitchen in the office and I'm really feeling tempted, then, all of us will get in and just give a word of affirmation to that person. And so I do believe in smaller groups. A buddy is great, even if you have 2 or 3 people, but I really do think that they need to be on solid ground. You don't need 3 people that are not on solid ground, because you will feed off each other and it will be going the wrong way. So at least 1 or 2 of those 3 people need to be really solid in their lines and in how they're working the program and being successful, so that it can help bring other people along.
I can't believe this, Toni, but the time is ticking away.
I know, it's done.
Do you have a last word for someone who is, and I know there are people in this group right now who are starting up. In fact, one, I got to have a shout out to Beth, because my friend Beth started and posted that her day 1 was on Monday. And on Tuesday, she had a little slip up at night and she asked me today, so do I start over? And I'm like, no, you're on day 4. Those things are going to happen.
We are not.
And I asked her if it was okay to mention this, and she's like, yes, absolutely.
We are not perfect.
Right.
There's a higher power that's perfect, and none of it's here on earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are fallible, and we learn from our mistakes. So what you need to do is, every time there is a blip, learn from it. Because if you don't learn from it, that is your mistake.
That's
your
true.
mistake. And wallowing in it is a mistake. So let me talk a tad about the saboteur. Here's my, again, rebel child. I read that chapter. I read it 3 times and went, oh, hell no, not going there. So it was not invited to my party. It was not even, I don't even mention it. I don't think you should name it, because once you give it a cute little name like Sabby or Karen or your ex-husband or whatever, it becomes an entity. And that entity now has power, because now you've created this thing, right, that you've given a name to, which means you've given it a little look, and you've given it power. And so what I used to do when I was feeling like I was going to go off, or there was a little voice in my head, I would walk up to a mirror, because the only one that is responsible for me going off plan isn't my saboteur. It isn't anybody else but me. And I would look at that person in the mirror and I'd have a little talk with her. People thought I was nuts. But you know what? That's who is you should be accountable to, is yourself. And you can't blame anybody else for the blips that you have. You can only blame yourself. Work is not ever going to go right. Kids are not ever going to behave perfectly. The husband isn't ever going to be a saint. Your friends aren't always going to be there to help you out. You are the only constant that you have.
That's true.
So you need to be accountable to yourself and for yourself, because at the end of the day, this is for you. And if it's for anybody else, get off the program and wait till it's for you. It can't be for your husband. It can't be for your boyfriend. It can't be because somebody said you're fat. It can't be for any other reason than you want to change.
And I think even finding out that when you said you hit rock bottom, and finding like, okay, that rock bottom, that hard spot gives me something solid to stand on.
Exactly right.
And I gotta just mention, because I don't know if anybody didn't see your photography that was a part of the slideshow. They need to go back when this is posted as a recording. But you coupled up some of your photography with some quotes, and I don't know who wrote this, but I just have to say that what you just said really resonated, and it reminds me of this quote, and it is, in the end, she became more than what she expected. She became the journey. And like all journeys, it did not end. She just simply changed directions and kept going. You become part of the journey. You choose.
Yeah.
You're the one that's being accountable to yourself. Even though you can have all the partners you want, the journals you want, all that stuff, you're the one looking in the mirror at yourself and saying, you know, why not me? Why not now? Why not do it? You know, and just give yourself that chance. You have, you know, like what you said in one of the other pictures, replace what if with hell yeah, I can do it.
I do photography as a hobby, which also gets me out walking around, but I started doing motivational quotes, and I've actually put them on magnets, and I use Shutterfly, I think, and I've put them quotes on my pictures. So this presentation has a lot of them. And if any of you would like one, I will gladly make you one.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
I gave my group all one. I gave them all something different.
Wow. Oh, that'd be phenomenal.
But yeah, so anyway, I do think accountability and accountability to yourself, follow the plan, read the book, get an accountability buddy, and stop using anything for an excuse, because there really isn't any excuse, not any. I went through a very it wasn't long, it was a short divorce, but I moved cross country, bought a house, sold a house, spent 2 months remodeling this house and landscaping, another 2 months landscaping. And there was, my job was affected by COVID. I got a pay reduction for about 3 months. So in about a 6-month period, I had pretty much everything you could have except for horrible disease happen to me. And what I always say is, and I use this as my mantra, you have no control over what the universe or anybody else does or says to you. You have complete control on how you react to it. That is your power. That's the only power you have, how you react to what life is throwing at you. And it throws shit at you all of the time. And every time, if you make an excuse for all of that, then how are you going to meet your goals, right? If every time something gets thrown at you, you stumble. So, and we all stumble, but now and again, but if you just keep moving one foot in front of the other, there really are no excuses. And that's another mantra I have. They're not, it's none, not one. I'm my own excuse, and I don't
Toni,
want to.
this has just been so great. I mean, seriously, it's like the time went like that. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous to you, and
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I
Reach
know
out to
that
me personally, go right ahead. And if you have any questions, just PM me. I will answer anything you want.
Okay, so again, you've been an inspiration. Others are saying they feel happy when you commented on their posts early on. I speak the same words. You were there for me so many times, and I will be always so thankful. Thanks for coming back on again. Next week, our friend Mercy Rice is going to be here. That's going to be fun.
She's a hoot. We met in an airport. She came through DC, and I said, "Where's she?" And so I ran out to the airport, and we met. And we chatted for about an hour and a half before her flight. Yeah. And I've also met Judy Yost as well.
Wow, so, that's so cool. And this is what's so great, is people just really getting to know each other. So, you know, we all have our own journeys, and I just again want to thank you, Toni, so much. Thank you from everyone, and I hope we can check in again sometime. Yep. But for now, I am going to close as I do every week. Good night, stay bright, and don't let the bed